have used my voice. I have told you about the experiences, and there's still not going to be any accountability. There's still not going to be any support. I've been to HR 2 times at this point. That's when I had to make a decision. There's only so long that you can be a victim.
Can you please talk about the specific, if you can narrow it down to one specific event that happened at their organization that made you realize I'm dealing with racism here? What was the one thing, if you could narrow it down?
One thing. All right. I like to narrow it down to there's 2 bookends for me. There's really 2 bookends. The first bookend happened about 10 months into my employment. Now, mind you, when I took this job, I moved cross country with my then 11-year-old. So I've moved from California to now, cross country to North Carolina, and I've only been here 10 months. And my leader says to me, after we leave a pharmacy leadership conference, I'm sitting in her office and she says to me, well, LaQuoya, before we went to Chicago, I didn't even know you were a human. And it's just me and her in the office. And it was something like, it felt like my soul stood up then. Like I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what to think. It was just like, it just hit me. And like to this day, I can't remember what we were talking about before. I don't know what we said, what we talked about after. All I know, I heard, I didn't even know you were a human.
What does that mean? Did you try to rationalize that and say, well, maybe she's talking about my attitude? Because I know personally, sometimes people feel like, oh, she's cold because of how, and I'm really protecting myself. And they say, oh, she's cold. So was she talking about your emotional status? Or did you try to rationalize and say, oh, maybe she's talking about my emotional status? Or what? How did you figure out she's talking about my race?
And then can I add something to that also? Yeah. Because you can probably answer it in one. Had she, just to kind of elaborate for our audience, is this her first time meeting you? Had she never seen you? Were all your conversations telephone conversations that she would have said that?
Mm-mm. So that's a great question, Tiff, and great question, Mariko. Like, how did I rationalize it? What was in my head? So I will say to the latter question about how did I rationalize it, I don't know. Like, I don't even know how I rationalized it back then, because I'm gonna tell you, this experience did not come back up for me and get triggered for me until 2020, until we were going through the whole George Floyd murder. That's when it triggered for me. I had always known about it, but like I said, it was something that like I suppressed. Like I didn't even talk about it. I didn't even talk about the experience. So, and Dr. Tiff, to your point, no, this is someone who literally office was right next to me. We worked together on a daily basis when she showed up, at least. And so we worked on projects together. We were running the entire department ourselves. So we worked really closely together. And so this was somebody who, like, it wasn't like, I could see, in this virtual environment right now, you've got team members who have never met each other in person. Like, we just started taking our mask off, right? If you've been seeing people in person and you just took your mask off, some people, we just found out what we look like. This is somebody who has seen my full exterior all day, every day, okay? So I thought when I walked in on 2 legs, I was a human just like you was. So there's no excuse for that. But what I will say in terms of, okay, how did I rationalize it? Because I suppressed it, I did it. And so that's why I call it 2 bookends, because in 2020, after I had gone through so much, 2019 was like the worst year of my life. It was just so much in 2019 that happened to me within this environment, that 2020 is when it really, my eyes opened up. And so in January of 2020, when she used the N word the third time in a professional meeting with me, my director, and my other supervisor in a room after we had just had a very pointed conversation about our leadership and our team and how we needed to move forward. And then she proceeded to use the N word in a joke, and there was no accountability afterwards. That's when I knew.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I had gotten very vocal about the experiences that I was having in that department. And so now that I have used my voice, I have told you about the experiences, and there's still not going to be any accountability. There's still not going to be any support. I've been to HR 2 times at this point. That's when I had to make a decision. I had to make a choice. There's only so long that you can be a victim.
Mm-hmm.
That's hurtful.
And now, can you define racism? Because for our audience who may just be tuning in, Dr. LaKoya is really a diversity and inclusion specialist, and she has an upcoming event about diversity. I think it's called the Culture
The Grace Culture 5-day virtual summit for pharmacy leaders. But yes, the Grace Culture experience.
Yeah, so she is the diversity and inclusion expert. So Dr. LaKoya, can you define and differentiate between racism, prejudice, and subconscious racism and subconscious prejudice, if you can do that, if there is a such thing?
Yes. All right. So that is a very loaded question, and I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that I am doing as a result of this 5-day virtual summit, so that everyone knows, is I intend to bring pharmacy leaders together in cohorts to help fill these knowledge gaps and also give them the hands-on support that they need to make the transformational changes that we need to make to create the types of environments that will actually retain and keep staff. Quite frankly, we need to be able to, we cannot survive continuing to exist the way we're existing right now. So I'm going to give you some high-level thoughts on what Dr. Mariko has asked about racism, prejudice, and subconscious or implicit bias. I'm going to give you some high-level information on that, but it's just high level, right? We need to do our own work, and that's what Grace Culture helps you do. It helps you do your work. We all need to do our work. We have to understand that the system has failed us and that we were all born into the system. And so in order for you to change your behavior, there's some knowledge gaps that need to be filled, but also there's some practical tools and resources that I can give you, and I can support you and coach you through so that we can turn this ship around. So racism. The way I like to define racism is about power and control. That's what it is. It's about power and control. All right. So I know this is going to be this is really hard for some people to hear. Even some people of color don't really like to think of it this way, but I'm gonna put it out here and let you know that Black people cannot be racist. Okay. And everybody has got to come to terms with it. Black people cannot be racist. Black people can be prejudiced, but Black people cannot be racist. Racism is about power and control. Black people have not been given enough power to be racist. So let's have an example here. And this is the example that I use. I've taught my daughter this example, so she uses it all the time as well. If all the Black people in America said, you can no longer attend our schools, you can no longer come to our hospitals, you can no longer shop in our grocery stores, what impact would that have on your life? I'll wait. You could still go to Trader Joe's. You could still go to Whole Foods. You could still walk into any hospital. You can pretty much live your entire life with no impact whatsoever. That is why Black people cannot be racist. Now, prejudice, we all can be prejudiced. And prejudice is really just holding these beliefs and maybe stereotypes that you have towards people and then acting those things out. All right. That's how our prejudices, manifest. All right. We all can be prejudiced. I'm prejudiced against Walmart. I will go out of my way not to go to Walmart. I would prefer to go to Target any day of the week, because I know what I'm going to get. That's not to say, though, that I can't get the same services at Walmart. I can. But I just know when I go to Walmart, sometimes it's going to take me 50 minutes to get out. And when I go to Target, it's only going to take me 5 minutes. That's it. I can get the same thing, and that's my preference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it is. It's just my preference. But I still have to recognize that I do have that prejudice, right? So when I need something, I know that I can still go there and get it, and it's going to be the same product, the same quality, the same value, so and so on and so forth. It's the same. I just kind of have that prejudice, and that's okay when I'm talking about Walmart versus Target versus Kmart versus Sears or whatever.